So today and onwards, like I will be spending time on COPA module. Okay. So COPA module is nothing but we call profitability analysis, and people call COPA, and CO means like controlling module. Obviously, PA means profitability analysis, right? And then I will cover in this particular topic or the course pretty much the integration with the other modules, mostly into the SD module integration like that. Okay, and as we see the definition wise, I think you might have read this particular definition and all that, but just overall understanding. Your profitability analysis is part of SAP management accounting. So management accounting is nothing but like your cost accounting and controlling is what we say management accounting, right? Which integrates all downstream processes to present profitability analysis of the enterprise. Okay, so in simple terms, like you are pretty much integrating COPA with many other processes like source processes, and then you are analyzing that scenarios in the profitability of these scenarios. Okay, so you might have heard this particular thing. Like there are two forms of COPA, which is like account based and costing based. I will deal with them very detailed way. And there is a lot of interesting things like what exactly the account based is there, and costing based, and what are the differences, and why do we need two forms of profitability analysis. Okay, and so and at the same time PA. Sometimes I use PA or profitability analysis or COPA. Doesn't matter. This presents the data analysis for multiple dimensions based on a specific enterprise requirements. Okay, so when I say that every enterprise is different. For example, if you go to State Bank of India, their requirements may be different. If you go to Tata Motors, their requirements may be different, and if you go to Reliance, their requirements may be different. And also, if you go to in the multinations like Microsoft or Apple, every enterprise has got their own requirements, right? Because the nature of the business is different, right? And then at the same time, you are the data analysis, the analysis of the data that you are talking of, right, is multiple dimensions. Like you can see from different dimensions. Okay, and again, PA is free-form analysis, which means like there is no like a specific way that you need to analyze. Whatever the way management wants to analyze, they can analyze. It's a free form, and it can be different for different organizations, as I just mentioned. Okay, so again, this is more of theoretical the base. I'm trying to build it up, and then you will slowly understand how you will go about it, right? And in a simple, very simple form, pretty much financial accounting, right? So in a very high level, financial accounting contains general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivables, and fixed assets, right? So this is what we call from the financial perspective. Of course, these are the deeper integrated modules with other modules, right? So then when you talk of CO controlling, which is nothing but a management accounting, okay, so like we pretty much try to understand cost center accounting, right? Cost centers, how they are created, hierarchies that we created, right? And then master data, then pretty much allocation, planning, with all that sort of things that we have seen there, right? So same way you have PCA, profit center accounting, and internal orders. Like we spent a lot of time on the internal orders, right, to understand. Again, internal orders are used like pretty much the orders concept is like product costing, it will be using that production orders like that, and investment management will be using in line with your fixed assets module. So investment management is using internal orders to process them, right? So again, there are certain things which we spend time on understanding them, but we can come back and forth on them, right? So now comes like COPA, right? Profitability analysis as such. So which means it is a part of controlling, right? And this is like another module, that is the reason you say COPA. So that is a part of your controlling module, right? So SAP like introduction, integration wise, this COPA here, how it is integrated with other modules, and this is what we see when we are configuring COPA, how we are going to see the integration by module, right? So pretty much COPA is integrated with the SD module, which is primary the reason for this profitability analysis, right? So SD module, SD means sales and distribution module, that right? So here pretty much what happens is that COPA is integrated with customer master, sales orders, delivery, billing, and debit and credit memos. Of course, the debit and credit memos are nothing but like it's a kind of billing, but special form of billing, right? And then pricing procedures that SD modules will be using, like billing and sales order, and pretty much everywhere the pricing procedures are used. And account determinations which we use in SD module, right? All the revenues, rebates, discounts, and other processes in SD posted to COPA. Okay, so here the integration is like from the SD module there, right? The same way, if you think of MM module, normally we don't think like what is there in the integration perspective, right? So from MM module perspective, you have product information, which is like you create a material master information, and if you are having a batch characteristics and related classification views, you can have that information, material group, other material master attributes, right? And purchasing price variances and all that can be posted to COPA, right? So the same way you have when we go and study about the product costing, pretty much the same kind of information. So because MM is also integrated with product costing, product costing doesn't exist without MM material master, right? So both are these integrated. So pretty much what data is going from MM is also you can consider as a product costing. But important thing is that production variances. So instead of purchase variances, here production variances are posted to COPA. So that's what we will understand there, right? And then COPA also is integrated with general ledger, obviously. Account based COPA that we will go and understand that. So we'll use pretty much account general ledger accounts, and the cost center allocations that you have seen, right? Assessments and distributions, that kind of information can be posted to COPA. Internal order settlement that you have seen, settlements that you can post it to COPA. Obviously, profit centers which can be used as a COPA characteristic, and we will go and deal with them. But pretty much COPA has got integration with general ledger, cost centers, internal orders, and profit centers. Okay, so and then this way you have pretty much integration knowledge, right? So this is what integrated with other modules are, right? Of course, there are a lot of things in other modules to understand in order to understand overall COPA knowledge. Okay, so let me put it this way. in order to understand the overall, the objective of the COPA, right? So let me ask one question. If any company, let's say small or medium scale or the large company, right? You will have the top management, right?
Yeah.
So when the top management looks at the organization, they don't look at the day-to-day operational problem. For example, whether there is a purchase order received or not, okay, whether a specific purchase order is paid or not, they don't really care about it, right? Of course, if there is a problem, if it is escalated to the top level management, they will interfere. But of course, that is a day-to-day operation. That is the transactional processing is happening. But what is the primary thing that is the top level management is interested is, right? So they are interested in strategic decisions, right? Like so they are always thinking of strategy. Okay, what is happening in the overall perspective for the company, right? So if you are thinking from that perspective, strategy perspective, what kind of information that they need in order to make strategic decisions, right? So that's what COPA is going to provide the information, right? So Hananta, I'll ask one question. Like when you say strategic decisions, right? What exactly they are trying to look at? Can you give some ideas there?
Yeah, it could be, for example, whether to accept a proposal or not, say in terms of the expected revenues and the expected costs and the
so that also is a very small level, right? Because whether particular proposal or not, like maybe it's like proposal in the sense sale or
then it could be pricing, that is pricing it could be.
Yeah, pricing also I will say there will be pricing department, they will be working on it, but you are there almost, right? Yes, one
then
way.
Should we introduce new product or not? Should we take up new product?
Yeah, now you are there, right? So in any organization, when you think of, they think from, okay, what is my current marketing strategy, right? Where do I stand? So when you want to say where do I stand, right? When you want to analyze the where do I stand, first you have to analyze, okay, which markets I am selling, right? Whether I am selling in a north region, south region, right? A specific region, like okay, like what are my markets, right? So where I am selling, and at the same time, okay, I am selling in these markets, right? And where I am making maximum margin, right? Is it good to sell to government, or is it good to sell to corporate or to consumers, right? For example, if you think of strategy wise, let us think two organizations, which is one is Microsoft, right? Microsoft, and another is Apple. And just think of these two companies from the overall strategy perspective, right? Right from beginning, they have corporate wars right from beginning, right? So Microsoft is concentrated, like mostly concentrating right from beginning on their products selling to corporates, right? So pretty much MS Office, Word, Excel, of course they are consumerized also, but all big companies are using pretty much Microsoft products, right? But their concentration is more on corporate side, right? Whereas if you think of Apple products, right? So Apple also has got Mac computers, and they also sell to the corporates, but their core competency is in not in selling to corporates, but retail consumers, right? So you see how different these two big companies are, right? So this is oriented towards consumer, and this is oriented towards corporate. Again, we are not talking of who is going to win, what kind of strategy they are. What we are trying to understand here is that when CEO office looks at and their strategies are formed, they will try to see what are the margins for my products, right? So and where do I make my products? I mean the margins. So like that analysis you need. Okay, so that is one from the when you say consumer and corporate, this is the customer oriented. Who is the customer? The ultimate customer is a small consumer somewhere, and for Microsoft it's like big organizations itself, right? And based on this, their entire strategy or their integration with or their relations with other corporates will differ, right? For example, Microsoft, they give their software preloaded to all the computer manufacturers, whereas Apple does not give its software to anybody. It produces its hardware also, right? So which means depending upon their strategy, the consumer strategy and corporate strategy, so they form their operations, right? And also one thing we talked about the customer, right? And what about the product itself, right? So if you think of products, right? So what product that you want to sell, and where do you want to sell, right? That is also very important. Do you agree? So what kind of products, like whether I want to be in hardware, software, or is it like cloud computing, or pretty much. For example, if you think of big organization like IBM, so 10 years back they took strategic decision that okay, go away from manufacturing of your PCs, right? So why did they take the decision? Maybe they thought that okay, PC business is no more profitable, right? And let us move to the services, right? So like that, if you think of any big organization, they have strategies, right? So in order to feed the data for strategic analysis, right, you need COPA. So COPA or COPA type of information analysis is needed in an organization, right? So here let us try to understand. Okay, COPA is another module, right? So how that particular module is structured, we'll try to understand. But before that, do you have any questions here? Okay, so I think you understood overall perspective. Anantara, do you have any questions here?
No.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Before we go and analyze the profitability of a company, and also look into this module, the configuration and all that. First you have to understand enterprise structure, right? So enterprise structure is nothing but like the organizational hierarchy that you create. Say whenever you are talking of let's say purchase order, right? So you have pretty much a couple of things, like for example plant is there, right? And the purchase organization is there, and you are creating the data in that particular purchase organization. And also if you are posting an accounting entry, what is there? It's already there. The company code is there. You created a company code and you are posting into that. So these elements which are configuration based backbones are called enterprise structure, right? So in any organization, enterprise structure is a backbone of the enterprise applications that you are working on. So which defines the legal, operational, and managerial reporting structures, right? So we'll see what exactly the legal and operational in a moment. So and the enterprise structure also defines the hierarchy, which defines the areas of responsibility, right? And like this enterprise structure has to be flexible and scalable as the enterprise is growing, right? So the enterprise structure is the one which is important for any module that you touch. Okay, so which means if you want FI module, you need to create a company code, and if you want a controlling module, you need to have a controlling area, and if you want SD module, you need sales organization, division, distribution channel, right? And purchasing, you need plant, purchase organization, so like that. So the enterprise structure is the base. So now with reference to this enterprise structure, like what exactly the enterprise structure in the module that we are referring right now, which is a COPA, right? So the COPA enterprise structure, when you think of, so it will be like this. So before go and see that the enterprise structure hierarchy wise. So let us look at what exactly other enterprise structures which we use. For example, company code, right? So when you say company code in SAP implementation, so this is particularly a legal reporting, right? So and this legal reporting that we have relation, this legal reporting, we assign this to a controlling area, right? So and the controlling area is a management accounting and assigned to a operating concern. I will just come and explain exactly what is operating concern, right? And then you have profit centers. So this is a responsibility area that you have a profit center and the plant and sales organization, right? So let's look at this particular slide. I think we have seen this earlier also, but let's try to understand. So this is in any implementation, when you go and start implementing SAP, first you have to analyze, okay, what is their overall organization structure, right? So as a FI consultant, that is your primary responsibility. Pretty much integrating with the business and try to understand their businesses and come up with a nice organization structure. Of course, the people from other modules will be also working with you guys to define these structures. Okay. So let us look at the one which we always know, right? So the company code. So when you create a company code, pretty much that what you are expected to do, you are going to make all the financial posting, right? So which means a legal reporting. This is obligatory for a company in order to present their balance sheet, right? So balance sheet, obviously, when you talk of balance sheet, you have P&L and the balance sheet. Both the things that you present to the legal authorities or tax authorities. So that's what we call legal reporting, right? So that we pretty much know, right? Without a company code, you cannot post an accounting entry, right? And then we try to understand the cost center accounting and cost accounting, which is nothing but a management accounting, right? So the difference is in the legal reporting and management accounting. Can you explain, Hanumantra?
The legal reporting is the external purpose, that is, it is obligatory, and the management accounting and cost accounting deals with the internal reporting, that is for decision making.
That's awesome, right? So that's what exactly is, right? So the controlling area is what is the management accounting. So legal reporting is obligatory. If you don't properly report, you will go to jail, because obviously that is a legal requirement. But management accounting is also kind of obligatory, because if you don't have management accounting, you are out from the business, right? So you don't know what is happening, right? So you don't know, you can't take decisions, and pretty much your survival depends on your management accounting, right? So then before we go to the operating concern, let's go down path here. Say sales operations. So any organization, they have sales division, marketing division. So obviously every marketing division will have their own operations and strategies and all that. So that's what we call sales organizations, right? So for example, sales organizations may be structured this way. Say you may be selling one kind of product, so all that product related things you may sell under one sales organization, right? Or maybe a region, like some regions together you may call as a sales organizations, or a particular country itself, you can follow the sales organization. So, but that is more of sales oriented. And then the same way, like again, I did not represent everything here, but just it gives you idea of like how the enterprise structure is. So, for example, logistic operation, which means like procurement of materials, production of materials, or production of products, and selling of that. All that is the logistics, right? Logistics operations that you are having. So for the logistics, the central piece is the plant itself, right? And then apart from these things, you have cost centers reporting, profit centers reporting, business areas. Nowadays, like in the GL, they are talking of segments. But whatever, this is like you have much more detailed reporting requirements that you can say free form, right? Cost management, operations management, responsibility areas like that, right? So this forms the lowest level you can say, but all this together. So when management accounting, we said it's like for internal decision making, right? And legal reporting, sales operations, and all that, right? It's all good, but like apart from all this, everything, even controlling area above that, you have something called operating concern, right? So this is something which we are talking of strategic oriented, which means there is a subtle difference between the management accounting and strategic oriented. So management accounting also forms more or less day-to-day reporting kind of thing. Like for example, cost centers, your cost centers, profit centers, pretty much linked to your management accounting and your day-to-day operations, so like your allocations and distributions and all that you are working on, right? But in the operating concern, you don't have anything like this, right? It is like more of strategy oriented, right? So we'll see in a moment like what exactly the strategy oriented here is, right? So now I put together this particular thing into one example, which I always like kind of thing to understand more specific, right? For example, you think of a Tata Group as a company. So entire Tata Group, like which means the entire Tata Group of companies. You can say that that is what Tata is, like operating concern, right? Which is one operating concern, right? And then if you think of Tata Group, I don't know whether you aware of or not. So Tata Group has got like two major companies. Obviously, they have much more number of companies wise, but two major I listed out here. Tata Motors, which manufactures the automobiles, right? And the Tata Steel, pretty much, which is like steel manufacturing, right? So this is like management accounting perspective. Tata Motors management is completely different from obviously Tata Steel. They don't even like have anything common, right? The one thing common is that these both are Tata Group companies. So all the policies which are set by Tata are applicable to both the companies, right? So and within the Tata Motors, which we think of Tata Motors as one company, but so they may have within their like management, they may have multiple subsidiaries under the Tata Motors, right? So for example, Tata Motors for the legal reporting purpose, they have two company codes which are like Tata Motors and Tata Cummins, right? So Cummins is another kind of company code, which is legal perspective. They will be reporting separately, and Tata again. This is just an example. This is like a tip of iceberg for the Tata Motors. I am not trying to represent entire Tata here, and of course this needs a bigger chart here, right? But just to give you some understanding how these enterprise structured elements are organized, right? So if you think of Tata Motors as such, for example, when it comes to the sales, they do have two kinds of sales, right? One is the cars manufacturing and automobile related things, and also they have something called technologies, because they have the design CAD/CAM related designs, right, technologies. So they sell even software also, not only in automobile, they sell software which is installed in the cars, and again which is used for designing the cars, right? And then just sales perspective, and then if you go to the logistics, they have plant at Pune, Jamshedpur, Lucknow, Mumbai, and of course many other locations. This refers to only Tata Motors, right, and Tata Cummins I am talking of. And then when you go to the deeper levels, so their cost centers, they have accounting, production, sales, marketing, like that, big different cost centers they have. And then they can have like profit center accounting, which is like they pretty much, for example, Pune locations, even though it is not required to submit legal reporting and balance sheet, but for the management purpose, if they want balance sheet and P&L, they can use they can pretty much use profit center accounting to report internally their balance sheet by Pune, Jamshedpur, Lucknow, Mumbai, like that. Okay, and then businesses, maybe they have software, hardware, cars, like this. All this is like from the representation perspective, and then much more broader is Tata. So when Tata Group, when they are taking a decision, right? So they don't care about like, okay, in Lucknow, in a particular cost center, what is happening. They care about what is my overall strategy, right? What are my products? Whether do I need to continue my Tata Steel or not? Whether I need to drop. For example, you just think of how did they introduce car manufacturing? They never manufactured car before 90s, right? But suddenly they have taken a strategic decisions when Indian market was monopoly with only two car manufacturing. One is Ambassador and another was Maruti, right? They took a strategic decision, right, to introduce car manufacturing. So they came up with the Indica, right, and then they were successful with that product, right? So does this give you some perspective of like what we are talking in overall enterprise structure wise?
Raghu, here I have one question. Then for sales operations, we have sales organization in this structure, and for purchase operation, we have overall we have to put plant is there, should be there, or purchase organization.
Yeah.
So where is purchase organization?
So that is a good question. So as I told you, so this particular representation gives you some idea, but I did not represent everything here. Okay, so you are right. There is a purchase organization. Pretty much that is a logistics kind of thing. You'll have a purchase organization, and then that you assign to a particular vendor, and then there is a relation between the vendor and plant. But again, everything is not represented here. But this gives you, when you think of these company codes and plants and all that, right? This gives you an idea. Okay, what is happening, in between, right? Any questions?
No, so I just want to know that apart from all these things, where we can put a purchase organization between.
Yeah, so you can have a purchase organization, another pretty much I can say another layer here, right? And say purchase organization, right? So the reason I did not put the purchase organization is that, right, if purchasing is somehow not really totally integrated with our operating concern related, because it's more of purchases, right? So like but sales and all that is related to COPA, but purchasing is another area where you can say in the logistics operations the purchasing is one among them.
Right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, understand. Yeah.
Any questions from you, Mantra?
No questions.
Yeah. Is it very clear or is it a little bit confusing?
No, very clear, Lagu. That say we can take even Bajaj example.
Yeah, Bajaj is another example.
Bajaj into automobiles, it is into electrical, electronics, then finance.
So when we talked about like strategic oriented, then like operating concern wise, operating concern, right? So just imagine like when I am going to report here, right? What is that I am going to report? So can you just give a guess like, okay, what is that I am going to report here? Say end of the day when you want to report, you have to report like revenue and cost, right? Like both make up your profit or loss, right? So so you are going to see your profit and loss in management accounting. You see that by controlling area as an example, right? In the company code, obviously you can see by company code what is my sale, what is my profit, like that, right? But in operating concern, what is that you see? Do you see operating do you see your profit by operating concern? Entire Tata Group has got only one operating concern, right? So by just mere operating concern, okay, my operating concern is Tata, and I made this much profit and this much loss. Is that the thing that will get satisfied? So what is that? Yeah, you tell me, ma.
We go by the makes, Raghu, that what is that we are producing in entire our group? What are our deliverables? What are we producing, and what is the profitability? What is the growth structure?
Yes, yes. So do you have any ideas, Yogita? So Hanmantra, you are not complete, right? I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas here, Yogita? Here. What is that like? End of the day, okay, I'm talking of operating concern, strategic oriented, but end of the day for a CEO, he has to see these profits and losses, by something. What is that something is? Is just a mere operating concern or something else we are talking of here? So can you guess it? Something I'm going to introduce one concept here, something called segment.
Yeah.
Right. So this is like segment. When I say segment, right, it is very interesting. It's nothing like defined anywhere. This is segment is not defined like company code or sales organization or plant. Segment is not defined, right? But it is derived. Okay. So segment is always derived, not defined. So what does it mean, Hanmantra?
So segment could be a product, segment could be a geographical area, segment could be a center, segment could be anything. So that is, I want to see the profitability in a multi-dimensional manner. So my segment would become a product, or a area, or a person, or a strategy.
Okay, so I think Hanmantra is covering everything, right? So Yogita, you tell something here.
Yeah. So segment, whatever the functionality, whatever the physical entities are there, and whatever the overall process is there. So every process and every physical entity wise, we have to we can make different segments, like periodical segments, or we can make anything. We can categorize the things in that way, so we can call the segment wise.
Awesome. So that's what, like before I go and talk about segment, I just wanted to get from your thoughts, right? So now the one thing is that you will not see segment like company code. Okay, I have defined company code and this is my company code. Like that, there is nothing like you define as a segment, right? So segment is always derived, not defined, right?
Right.
So as Hanmantarao rightly said, this is like it can form anything. It is on the fly, which means a particular product may be my segment, or combination of a product and customer, or a customer itself, right? Like that. So which means pretty much like when you think of let's go into a definition, right? So here before we define the segments, right, like let us try to understand this particular definition in a more detailed way. Okay, profitability analysis gives you the ability to analyze. Okay, be careful on every word, right? Ability to analyze the profitability for segments of your external markets, right? These segments can be defined according to products, customers, countries, and numerous other characteristics. This is important here. Numerous other characteristics, right? As well as your internal organization units such as company codes or distribution channels, and that is like direct, wholesale, or e-commerce kind of distribution channels, right? So this is what exactly in a very definition wise, right? Crux of this entire thing is that you are analyzing segments. These segments are nothing but, right, which are defined or formed or derived based on products, customers, countries, numerous other characteristics, right? So the aim is to provide your executive management, sales, marketing, planning, and other groups in your organizations with decision support from market-oriented viewpoint, right? So that's what exactly the objective of your profitability analysis is, right? So now when we talk of segments, right? So the segments are like not only products, right? The combination of a product and customer also is segment, right? The combination means, for example, if I am selling, let's say, if I am selling a particular product to particular customer, right? That may be my one segment, right? For example, let's say oil manufacturing companies, right? Say they sell their like crude oil to countries, right? So for them, the country is a segment along with their product, right? So and the same way, if they are selling this particular crude oil to companies like Reliance and other the crude oil processing companies, right? So then these are the customers. So this product and customer makes a segment. So end of the day, segment is how many segments can be formed in a company? There is no limitation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like a permutations and combinations. So that is the reason you cannot say these are the 10 segments that I formed, right? But when you are analyzing, again you may be analyzing by products and by customers, by countries, or by product customers, or by product customers and countries. So if you are analyzing by product, customer, and country together, so then that three forms one segment, right? Like that. So the segment is like more of dynamically formed. Internally, the data where it is stored, segments are derived and posted into COPA. Okay. So then when you think of here, characteristics. That one thing I mentioned, COPA characteristics, right? So whom do you analyze? Like what exactly you are, like what is that you are going to analyze, right? What you are analyzing is something like related to the like the data. For example, you are analyzing cost and pricing and all that. But whom do you analyze? What are the objects that you are going to analyze? You are analyzing products, customers, enterprise attributes, sales attributes. When I say enterprise attributes like company code, plant, sales organization, distribution channel, division. Customer means customer group, corporate customers, government customers, internet customers, high net worth customers, low net worth customers, medium net worth customers. Okay, so I mean all kinds of customers. Products means like whatever the types of products that you produce, product groups and product hierarchies that you analyze, right? And when I say sales attributes, pretty much sales organization, in division, distribution channel, that kind of attributes that you have. So all these are what are going to form as a COPA characteristics. Okay, so for the COPA master data perspective, there is nothing master data in COPA itself. This master data is always derived from other modules. Okay, all these forms segments, right? So like whom do you exactly whom you are analyzing, and by this particular segment you are going to analyze like what? You are analyzing revenues, you are analyzing prices, and you are analyzing GL accounts, right? So this gives you one kind of perspective for the COPA. So do you have any questions here, Anantra?
No, Raghu, very clear. Customer, product, sales, enterprise in relation to the cost, pricing, and GL accounts.
That's correct. The Tata Motors example that I was giving, right? So what are the characteristics here that you want to analyze?
Motors. In motors, say, is it two-wheeler or four-wheeler or heavy vehicles, and if it is a two-wheeler, what is the particular model? Then I have to go to that extent and pick up for analysis.
Right.
Then I can combine with customers.
Yeah, but when you are going into that specific product, that is a segment itself, right? But characteristics is like nothing but the data element itself. Like for example, company code, right? Is one characteristic, right? A product is another characteristic. Do you agree?
Okay.
In that characteristic, that you may have values which are like company codes are two company codes. So the two company codes are two segments, right? But as a definition of that particular segment is like your definition of the company code itself. That is what is the characteristic. Okay.
Okay.
I think once we go into this particular definition, then I think you will understand, right?
Yeah.
Characteristics are criteria in profitability analysis according to which you can analyze your operating results and perform differentiated sales and profit planning, right? The combination of the values for the characteristics in an operating concern is called segment, right? Customer master data information, organization structures, and sales and distribution module, or anything like a transaction oriented, and also they may be derived also. They need not to be like a product and all that, so they can be derived. Okay. So when we think of like characteristics, pretty much it's like a what criteria you are analyzing, right? Okay. So the characteristics definition wise, like we'll come back and analyze more detailed way. But if you think of like a characteristic, right? For example, let's look at the product related characteristics, right? Say product itself is a characteristic. Right now, don't look at anything like technical details and all that, because I will explain that more clearly. But right now, try to understand what can be your analysis perspective. For example, you can analyze by products, divisions, material groups, material pricing groups, product hierarchy, and strategic business units, SBUs, right? And then when you talk of customer related characteristics, that what you want to analyze. Say when you say customer, what you want to analyze. So I want to analyze by individual customer, or group of customers, or specific classification of a customer, and sales district like region, and industry, what industry they belong. For example, the example I explained to you, consumer or consumer oriented or corporate oriented, right? That is the industry. Or country of the sold to party, right? That may be a kind of characteristic. Ship to country, or like party or country. And characteristics from organization structure are like controlling area, profit center, company code, plant, right? So, and characteristics from other sales organization, like sales organization, distribution channel, country and region, sales office, intercompany indicator, like you can use that intercompany indicator for some. So, and transactional based, for example, promotion, sales deals, like that, other characteristics. So here, what I am trying to make you aware is, this is just again not exclusive, right? It's like a indicative list where what kind of characteristics that you can have in order to analyze, right? But characteristics are not segments, right? So the segments are like this. For example, product, you have product P1, right? P1, P2, right? P3, and P4 as an example, right? So you can say I have, like, if I want to analyze by P1, right? P1 is my one segment, P2 is second segment, P3 is another segment. So now the same way I have customer C1, C2, C3, right, and C4. So now I have segments, like how many segments I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I am not done, right? Because I may think of these two together, P1 and P2, P2 and C1, P3 and C1, and P4 and C1. So P4 and C1 can be another segment. So like this, how many combinations will evolve, Hanumantrao, here?
4 into 5, I think.
In this example, like P1, P2, P3, P4, and C1, C2, C4, like around 20, right? Like 4 times 4, 5, right? So 20 combinations may evolve, right?
Yeah.
But imagine the same way you may have like that values in every element that they displayed here.
Yeah.
So how many segments it will form? Like there is no limit, right? It may go into like hundreds and thousands, right?
Yeah.
But again, you have to remember, management is interested in those segments which make sense to them, right? For the strategic business perspective, and they will analyze from that perspective, right? When what they want to analyze, they will define actually. That's what they are looking at, kind of analysis, right? So another important thing is none of these characteristics are defined in COPA module. Okay, so is it not interesting? All these are defined somewhere, but you will use in COPA. Okay, I mean like in a product, for example, obviously you will define product for your material master, right? Which you are using for procurement of material and production of material and like selling of the material, right? So you define that in other modules, but you are going to use that product in your COPA. So none of these are defined, but it doesn't mean that you can't define. You can define some characteristics in COPA itself, right? But the values in that defined characteristics may be derived from other characteristics. Okay. So again, before going into the details, I mean, do you have any questions here, Yogita?
No.
Hanmantra?
Very huge, model.
No, Raghu, it's very clear.
This example, if you have 3 regions, right, and 3 product groups and 3 customer groups, how many total segments can be formed, Hanmantra? 3 times 3, right?
Yeah, 3, 9, 27.
Yeah, so that every Rubik part of the Rubik cube is one segment, right? For example, if I am analyzing this particular segment, right? What is this? This is region 3. This is product group 1, and this is customer group 3. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So this is region 3 R3 here, right? In this case, and then obviously 1, 2, 3 region, right? And the product group 1 P1, right? And customer group was C1, C2, C3, which is C3, right? So if I want my revenue by this group, what I am saying? I am saying that okay, this product in this region for this customer group, how much I sold, right? So the combination of these 3 forms a segment, and I am trying to analyze the revenues and cost by that particular segment. Okay. Or we try to understand this side of the story, right? Pretty much we try to understand, okay, what forms segment, right? Now I think now you understood what exactly segment means, right? So it's it can be formed by any combination of these characteristics, right? So, but what is that you are analyzing here for this segment? You are analyzing your revenue, right, and your cost, right, and then makes revenue cost makes your profit, right? So, for example, let us assume that the example that I have given, say product 1, right, P1, region 1, right, and then region 1, product 1, and then customer group 1, right. So these 3 combination, you have a profit, and then same way P2, product 1, region 1, and customer group 2, let's say, right. So now everything is same region, same product, same region, same product, but customer is different. Okay. Now let us say you analyze the revenue for the last 2 years for these 2 segments, and you found there is a huge increase in revenue here in first segment, right? But there is no increase at all in the revenue in the second segment, right? What decision you will make, Hanmantra?
We try to focus on first segment. That is, we shift the sale or the production from the second segment to first segment.
Yes. Okay. But unfortunately, when you look at your profit, there is a huge margin in segment 2 rather than segment 1. What does it indicate?
Profit is more, you mean to say?
Yeah, profit is more in the second segment.
That is the mass market. C1 is it's a niche market.
So no. What I'm trying to say is that say revenue increases a lot, but profit is much lesser. In the C2 there is no revenue increase, but there is a good margin, good profit. Okay. So what strategic decision that you make?
That is, in the first case, we will try to reduce the cost. That is, it could be on account of cost factor.
Yes. So which means there is a huge revenue generated, but there may be a huge push for marketing strategy, and you may be spending a lot of money there, right?
Yeah.
So now if you are a strategic decision maker, then you will try to analyze all this, right? So you will go by every element. Does it make sense, Yogita here?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to give you. So now here, not only the segment, but exactly what you are analyzing is important, right? You are analyzing revenues and cost and profit. So based on this analysis, then you will take it. So just mere analyzing segment, just understanding the segment doesn't mean anything. So segment is in relation to exactly what is happening, right? So what is the trend is happening? For example, one segment over a period of time, revenue may go up like this, and another segment the revenue may go down like this. But if you look at your profit margins, right? So profit margins may be going down like this here, and profit margins may be going up here, right? So then obviously you'll think about like what exactly is happening, and then it will try to take a decision. Okay. So this makes like one kind of why do we need profitability analysis, like exactly what is this? So in the subsequently I'll try to explain more details here. Okay.